Alright, people, alright. Let me just move this slightly back. Innal hamdalillah wa kafa. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم. Ahlan wa sahlan bikum wa marhaban, Juan Ying Layth, bienvenidos a todos. Bakr ragle people, khush amadid. And as always, swagatam. What is going on, people? What is going on? I was almost about to have to postpone today's session. Ya salam. Not that I wanted to, but almost. It was just one chaotic thing after another. Story of my life, people. Story of my life. Let me just check first of all what's happening with my Facebook gente. What is going down? Mufti, who cut your hair? The Lord provides. The Lord. Alright. First of all, let me just make sure people are tuned in. Somebody on Facebook saying, finally, por fin. Mi gente. Let me just put this over here. Alright, those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, people. Spread the love, the fitan, the fasad. Alright, so... yeah, I almost had to postpone today's session. One thing after another, I tell you honestly. First, just as I'm about to get ready to go, my laptop doesn't fire up. Can you believe that? And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. This laptop, it's a brand new kind of laptop. It works fine. I don't overuse it. It doesn't even power up. Then, with some tips from my IT assistant, my techie assistant, on what to do, it just about fires up. I get it ready to go, and I'm like, broadcast, and before you know it, because I have to simulcast, I use a particular website. They're like, your subscription. I'm like, what the hell is this about? Come on, I'm sure I've got direct debit. And just as I renew the subscription, I have to renew that. It still says, oh, can you renew it again? And I thought, you know what? This just doesn't work. I say that, and there it is. Well, lillahi alhamd. The main thing is, we is here, people. We is here. So... what is going on? Do you play Card Zombies? Alright, no I don't. Turn your sound down, it's distorting. Is it distorting? Let me see if I turn it down from here. Is that... hello, still no good? Hello? Is that better or no? Is that no good still? Let me get some confirmations, people, and then we're good to go. I don't know what it is. I do pay my bills, but there you go. Alright, sound is good. People are saying the sound is good. Can I get a confirmation loud and clear? Alright. So, whilst we're waiting, people, let me just see what have we got today. So I'll just go through the usual drills. People, whilst you're waiting for any others to tune in, you can always click, like, subscribe, share, the usual. And if you haven't been watching my MindTrap, then you know what? Seriously disappointed. I'm seriously... how can you not be watching my MindTrap series? Alright, so whilst we're giving a few seconds for other people, look, what do we have here, people? Should we be concerned? uh, and this is the best one till. This is an interesting one till date. Yeah. That's a hospital asking for results. That's too good. That is. You see, basically, the person saying the hospital's responding, saying, he's asking the hospital, "How are my results?" And they say, "Well, this is it." All right, and I've got as always, a poem for you people.
तेरी मोहब्बत में हार के वो जा रहा है कोई शब गम गुजार के वीरा है मैं कदा खुम सागर उदास है तुम क्या गए कि रूठ गए दिन बहार के
अल्लाह
एक फुर्सत गुनाह मिली वो भी 4 दिन देखे हैं हमने हौसले परवरदिगार
अल्लाह अल्लाह दिस पोएम दिस लाइन देखे हैं हमने हौसले परवरदिगार के
दुनिया ने तेरी याद से बेगाना कर दिया तुझसे भी दिल फरेब हैं गम रोजगार के भूले से मुस्कुरा तो दिए थे वो आज फैज
अल्लाह
पूछ वलवले दिले ना करता कार के
वाह 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 that is enough people, that is enough. Right, so what have we got in store today? Well, we'll be taking a look at a bit of fiqh later on in just a moment. That's lockdown, pandemic fiqh, people. Pandemic fatawa going down. Pandemic fatawa. So we're going to take a look. Right, 50% of the questions here are, Mufti, what do you think of such and such person? Chalo, koi baat nahi yaar. Let them ask. Oh, yeah, salam. I hadn't even shared to my other page. Look at the blasphemies. The blasphemy, people. The blasphemy. Let's take some of your live questions. I'll also bring up what you've already posted on Facebook. And then we're good to go. In terms of taking a look at a bit of the masala segment at the end, it'll be one of our beloveds who's made the post, I'll respond to Chaudhry Saab. Just sharing this. You see, I figured since you guys ain't gonna share it, I might as well share it. So what is going on, people? What is going on? Why do you think you did not end up like the blind followers, Mulvis? Allah, Allah, Allah. Macau says, please answer this one. Tried to ask you lots of times. Mufti, doesn't the Hadith avoiding doubt? Avoiding doubt? What are you talking about? Overrule the all is halal until proven haram? Macau, is that as in Macau from China? The whole of the city is wondering. First of all is halal until proven haram. Right, is not a is not a hadith. That is a maxim. It is a law within. It is part of. If I can explain that, you see, in Islam, imagine you have a constitutional framework. That means that this is the kind of constitution. It doesn't work quite like how, I suppose, if you were to kind of make a constitution for Islam, you'd kind of say, well, you know, the Quran is an authority and so on. Like this, you'd use certain maxims. Now, from that maxim, from that axiomatic law, which would be constitutional to the framework of Islam, would be the law of defaults. This is called istishab. And from the law of defaults comes the default ruling of everything, which is everything is pure unless proven otherwise. People are innocent unless proven guilty. Everything is halal unless proven haram. That is from the law of defaults. This is not a hadith. This is qat'i. This is certain. As you would take a verse of the Quran, you would take this law. So it is qat'i. It cannot be overruled by a single hadith. It would need something of equal strength to overrule it. That's why you can't prove something haram unless you have compelling, conclusive evidence. Unfortunately, over time, some of the scholars kind of didn't stick to this principle, and due to power dynamics, you see, because this is the problem, you give somebody power, how long till they abuse it? You know, I was watching today some disappointing clip from Manchester, I think it was. I think it was being shared by a few newspapers, where one of the officers is arresting. He's arresting this black guy, who's just, I mean, he's on his own. He seems to be on a quiet street, and he's asked by this officer that, what are you doing? And he said, I'm taking groceries to I think he said my mother or my aunt who's vulnerable. And the excessive force that the copper is using against him. And then he says, I'm going to arrest you. And he's like, arrest me for what? And the police officer says, for breaking COVID rules. I mean, what the hell is that about? And he cuffs him kind of excessively, and it's crazy because somebody on the street says, some lady says that, look, what are you doing? Why? And he says, you're going to be next, and starts threatening. And he says, I'm going to pepper spray you all. And God damn, I think the Manchester police had to issue a formal apology due to that, and I hope that person is personally, I think that he's not fit to be a police officer. So people like that should be, I feel, immediately removed. Because they are just a disgrace. But that's my thoughts. But yeah, so how long before people abuse power? It's not usually long at all. So, yeah. Can we follow? Somebody had asked, let me just take back some of those questions. Follow back. Somebody had asked, can we get Doc back on Monday night? I mean, on MindTrap. Of course, I will be getting Doc back. I'm trying to get quite a few people on, a bit of a variety, then bring back some that have been on it already. So Doc definitely will be back on. It was an amazing discussion with Doc. I am awaiting other people as well to get a bit of variety in there. Mufti, has any verified archaeology ever been found in Mecca? I don't think it has, actually. The age of archaeology is quite recent. I mean, it's in our recent. It's a part of kind of modernity, really, and I don't think the Saudi kingdom is very helpful towards archaeology, and that's a shame, really. They ought to. Mufti, did all the authors of the books behind you laugh like you do when they were sharing knowledge? Says Ayub Ali. Yeah, Ayub Ali, you definitely make a strong case for abortion. I mean, it's difficult to argue against it when there's people like you. It's a tough one. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, hashtag keep it real. I guess your parents gambled on that one. They took a gamble. Ah, well, at least they got one reward for the ijtihad. Oh, God. All right, that's enough. You know what it is? Some people ask to be roasted. I mean, I think their purpose in life is to help others hone in on their roasting skills. Imagine that's your objective in life. That was the sole purpose for your creation, to help others kind of really hone those skills. Yeah, that's it. Right, so Mufti Saab, what's the lockdown workout routine saying? Yeah, I finally got the lockdown. I've finally started working out again. At home, I've got a. Somebody said that's not very nice. I know it's not. It's not. It's it's sad but true. It's not very nice, but then neither is depression. Mufti, how long have you known Sheikh Asrar? Sheikh Asrar I've probably known for maybe about 13 years or something. Right. What do you think about Dawa Man saying pork gelatin in Haribos is halal? I didn't know he says that, but yeah, I mean, I believe it's halal. Are you saying? Yeah, it's halal. Yeah, I believe it's halal. Anyway, all gelatin is halal. Oh, in that case, I think somebody shared a link with me saying that Yasir Qadhi has said that by chemical analysis today, and I don't know, by some kind of analysis of ingredients using the latest technology, we can still ascertain the origin of certain products, so certain ingredients. So let's say there's gelatin and there's istihala, which is for something to change and transform. Therefore, because we can still verify the origin, it is not true istihala. Acha, shabash. Oh, Yasir Qadhi. That's when that Bichara, Yasir Qadhi Bichara, the thing about him is that he's somebody who had and has great potential, but he really must be struggling. I genuinely believe people like Yasir Qadhi are so badly struggling trying to appease a crowd that they have long outgrown intellectually, but their crowd is the source of their very source of the source of their very existence. Like Yasir Qadhi is a kind of brand, if you like. That brand only exists on the back of this kind of mob, and these scholars then have to kind of suck up to their own mob. I mean, that's as sad as it gets. I'm being honest with you. And you get so many mulvis and molanas and shuyukh that are like that. And I'm telling you, I can... Damn, that hit my throat. I'm telling you that people like Sheikh Yasir Qadhi don't believe in half the things they preach, at least. As in, what I mean by that is they have outgrown at least half the opinions they continue to share as the opinion. They don't believe in it. And I know that. I'm telling you. It's just that they're kind of stuck now. It's a shame, really. I mean, if it was me, I'd be like, I don't really give a damn about people. It's like whether they like me or don't like me. It's as simple as that. They can go to hell if they don't like me. I mean, what difference does it... At the end of the day, if I'm here teaching something, it's my opinion, it's my ruling, I would teach it. I don't really care if people will like it or not like it, because if I feel it's the truth, I will share it. If in time my opinion changes, I will change it. In fact, today I'd like to discuss something in a while about my opinion on something which has slightly moved on. And I'm happy to say that. To me, that's not a sign of, I'm so dumb. I mean, okay, maybe I am dumb, but to me, it's a sign of development and growth, which I want to continue to do right throughout my life. So, yeah. But I mean, I want to answer about Sheikh Yasir Qadhi, that look, when you have alcohol and you make vinegar out of alcohol, it doesn't, because it's, let's say, spirit vinegar, you can still tell if you were to do a chemical analysis where it came from. It doesn't mean that its origin disappeared. Like in the time of the Prophet, when they used to transform the alcohol into vinegar, it wasn't that they never knew what the origin of this was. In fact, the chemical makeup is still very similar. It's not, but it doesn't mean that. It just means that the entity has kind of changed now. So that's what it is. It doesn't mean that you can no longer tell. Otherwise, I'm sure you can tell with many things. That was never the point, in my understanding. Do you sometimes wish to be that typical jubba wearing imama, tying zulf, flying izar, rising mulvi? Honestly, I'm so glad I'm not that. Honestly, I'm just too glad that, because I can just live my life. I can just be who I want to be and teach how I want to teach at the end of the day. Somebody said, when is round 2 with Veedo on MindTrap? I just messaged Veedo Vids today, and he said, yep, he's absolutely, he's more than happy to be on. So let's get that soon, inshallah. We'll get that soon. Mere Ali says, thoughts on Imam Syuti wabiyo wabiyah? Imam Syuti, and Imam Syuti he's a great Imam, he's a great scholar, very talented. But I mean, I don't know, he was kind of like a polymath. He was somebody that was very talented in many sciences. And I admire that about him immensely. But I don't know what else to really say beyond that. I mean, I love his, how he diversified his fatwa. I do feel that, like many scholars, he too did, he had an ego trip. But I'm not holding that against him. I'm just saying he did have an ego trip, 100%. In fact, if you read what some of his contemporaries said about him, they were like, Syuti just goes to the library, he takes these old books, rewrites them, as in he's just plagiarizing so much, copy and pasting and pretending it's his. But that said, I'm sure he did do a lot of that. Sakhawi, used to say that about him a lot. But I do feel that he was a don at the end of the day. You gotta kind of credit where credit is due. Mufti, can you do an authentic series about the stories of the prophets, because you said most of them aren't authentic? Sure, inshallah. Why not? If I can. The only thing is that there ain't much authentic stuff about the prophets. You've got to kind of figure certain things out. Right, so are you a real Mufti? Afraid so. Akhi, see that? Afraid so. So cocaine in small amounts is okay because it helps handle the liquor and avoid hangover. Oh, lol. Right, so somebody had asked about bringing Adnan Rashid. I have messaged Adnan Rashid. He has heard my message and seen it, but he hasn't responded, so I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to come on right now, or maybe he's not feeling well. I don't know. Right, so what's going on? Why is your beard shaved? My beard is always shaved. It's my style, my stilo. Alright, Zeba, you're doing it. Tell me about the children of heaven like pearls. Okay, that's interesting. The children, I mean, they're not children, but the young, it speaks about the young men who are like pearls. Little maknoon, they're like these hidden pearls. And some people have argued that is this kind of like, some people have argued like kind of homoerotic imagery in the Quran. I don't know. I think that's a bit of a... I don't think so. I don't see it like that. But I know in the past, some Muslims had argued that it was kind of homoerotic imagery, kind of this enticement towards kind of young men, as in young men like boys, but not boys, as in young guys, I suppose that's a better word. Because if I say boys, you're going to picture children. It's not talking about children, but it's talking about like young guys, I guess. So I don't really buy that personally. I don't see it like that. The verses like يَطُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ وِلْدَانٌ مُخَلَّدُونَ, these kind of wildanun mukhalladun that are said that they are like lu'lu' maknoon, and they're like, these kind of pearls that you look at them and they're kind of like waiting on you, they serve you, and that they're meant to be so good looking as well. I don't see... I mean, this is why, like I'm saying, people like Abu Nawas in the past and other people who were openly bisexual did claim that the Quran kind of entices them to this homoeroticism. And a lot of his poetry speaks about that. But I disagree personally. I don't see it like... I don't think it's a compelling argument that it's homoerotic. Looking at it, that's my understanding. Right, so why do you don't have time lapses in your videos, Akhi? Do I have time lapses? Is the video glitching? I didn't realize the video was glitching. I saw I had children like 8, 9, small young kids like boys or girls. No, I mean, in the Quran, these kind of verses that يَطُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ وِلْدَانٌ مُخَلَّدُونَ, the wildan are pictured like, if I don't, obviously it doesn't specify an age, but that general depiction is of like somebody maybe in their late teens, young men like that, young guys like that. That's why I said maybe guys is a better term, because when I say men, maybe you're picturing like men in their 30s. But so that's what it is. Cool. All right. Can you have a live session with Ace? Ace. Oh, right. From Instagram. I did see that what is it? Ace. I did see his thing, and this is maybe last year, I think. Maybe last year summer or something like that. There was a kind of somebody referred his page to me, and they said he's got a lot of questions about Islam, and I did watch some of his Insta stories, and on there he had a lot of issues with Islam. But they didn't seem very academic, to be fair. He did, then I think he messaged me or I messaged him, I can't remember at the time. I think I may have messaged him saying, look, if you're more than welcome to reach out to me. He did ask me to have a live session with him on Instagram. And I said that, look, I'm not interested in Insta lives, because Instagram is a very kind of immature audience and platform. I do use Instagram, I like it, but I feel the audience is too young for complex theological discussions. Whereas maybe Facebook and YouTube have a more mature audience. So he said, well, I don't really have those two, and so we'll just leave it then. And I did say to him, look, when I start my podcast, I'll invite you down. And at that time, I was planning on doing it in person, the podcast. And so he said, yeah, he'd be happy. I mean, I could one of the days get him on, although I'm not sure that I have watched some of his, at that time, this is going last year, some of his kind of objections to Islam. And I'm not really sure if they are the academic type. So I don't know if I would be the perfect person to speak to someone unless they want to engage at a very conceptual level. Because it has to make sense, you see. Like if I'm speaking to you and we want to discuss, then we have to discuss things like psychosocial constructs. We have to discuss things like the meaning of meaning. We have to discuss things like the ontology and being in and of itself with a capital B. These are very philosophical kind of discussions. Now, I don't know, maybe he is good with that, maybe he isn't, that's not his kind of cup of tea, in which case I wouldn't be the perfect person to speak to somebody like that. But anyway, we'll see, inshallah. But it's not just restricted to that, brother. Anyone who has issues of faith, you see, I'm happy to discuss with people, but it has to be at a deep level. Because it's no point me saying, well, let's talk about the ground of being, and they don't, they're not like, what the hell is that? So there's no point from my perspective. Skull, alright, doing it. What you know about being, bro? What you know about being, bro? Capital B in it, bro. Heidegger in it, Heidegger, bro, Heidegger. What do you say about psychotic construct, lol? Not psychotic, you genius. Psychosocial. Kasme. Jahils. This is one of my problems, you see. I'm speaking to some people who are just jahil. Alright, so what are your thoughts on Sheikh Abdul Hamid from Leicester? Sheikh Abdul Hamid is awesome. I hope he's well. I did message him not so long ago, actually, just hoping that he's well and everything. I don't think he may have seen the message, but not completely. I know since his accident, we've not really spoken since then. I hope he's well, inshallah. What is your take on earrings? Watch my video. I've got a detailed video on earrings. Have you read Abu Bakr al-Jassas's book? Yes, I've read from it. I've read from his usul book. It's very good. It's interesting actually because all the sections, I have it here somewhere. All the sections on that discuss Abu Huraira radiallahu anh seem to be kind of torn out. It's really interesting because he says that Abu Huraira radiallahu anh, we have to be slightly wary of his hadith. And he seems to be taking that approach where he says there's some companions who they were definitely like absolute scholars within Islam, like Abu Bakr, Ali, Umar, people like that. And then he says there's another category of scholars who we have to be like somewhat wary of their traditions. And as he goes into it, like he mentions, like he says in the beginning that I'm going to talk about this now, and I'll mention this category which will have like Abu Huraira in it, and I'll go into detail. But when he begins that section of going into detail about Abu Huraira, it's like a whole page is missing. And the copy I bought had it missing. I checked online, it had it missing. I checked a different print, it had it missing. So it seems that some people have maybe torn that page out of the original manuscripts, which is a shame, really. Mufti, what are your views on Tahir al-Qadiri? Yeah, I think Dr. Tahir al-Qadiri is he's I don't know what to say. I mean, he's a very well-known international scholar who, is from Pakistan. I think he's residing in Canada, maybe, or maybe he's back in Pakistan. I don't know. I think he's definitely, as far as Brailvis go, he's from a Brailvi background. He's very academic as far as Brailvis go, because Brailvis ain't really known for their academia, like ilmi kind of research. They're not really known for that. I mean, the Deobandis were known for that, to be fair. The Ahlul Hadith are kind of okay with that. The Brailvis, I mean, in the past, they've had like people like Pir Karam Shah Sahab, who was amazing. But since Pir Karam Shah Sahab, there's very few people who've been academic in the Brailvi tradition that have been like proper, profoundly. And I think Tahir al-Qadri is definitely amongst them who has been. Some people say, he just gets people to write his books for him. But nevertheless, whatever the thing, he is of that line of thought. He's definitely somebody with, ilm. And yeah, I think the only unfortunate part is people overdo it with, that's the problem with like Pakistanis and Indians and, the whole subcontinent. We overdo it with the mashayikh. Like they turn them into almost like prophets and, that they're untouchable, infallible. And that's the problem, I find. What is going on, people? How do you have a fresh haircut in the days of Rona? The Lord provides, people. It's called providence. Was it Harun al-Rashid or one of the Abbasid caliphs? In his time, there was a drought, and he said, oh no, there's a problem. Should we, what should we do? Because he said that there's a lack of rainfall, and we've got a lack of stock, and maybe we should, he kind of almost panicked, and his advisor said to him, like, look, chill out. The rain that you're talking about, that wherever it falls, the produce will be brought to us. Allah. Meaning that look how far our kingdom stretches, from the east right to the west. That wherever the rain will fall, let it fall, the harvest will be brought to us. वाह, जहां हम खड़े होते हैं लाइन वहीं से शुरू होती है. वाह 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 वाह. Right. Why are you delaying the social distancing rules by getting a haircut? My thoughts on this whole corona thing. I feel that these are my personal thoughts here. I feel that the virus is real. However, so I feel that its origin actually came from the Wuhan lab. And I've mentioned that before. And because China's only level 4 hazard lab is in Wuhan, where they've been working with coronavirus for several years. I feel that whilst tweaking it, somebody got infected and they were patient zero. I also feel that its spread is somewhat intriguing. That why did it not spread? Because if it's been spreading since November and the lockdown in China only occurs in January, how do Beijing not get infected? And Shanghai and Hong Kong, and how is there not a pandemic over there? And I feel maybe part of that is that China knew exactly what they were dealing with and therefore are using certain medicines to kind of counter that. Right, hello, Hassan Radwan. Is Hassan Radwan on here? That's Mahin Mirza. Mahin, you're doing it. Right, I didn't realize Hassan Radwan is on here. Hassan, ahlan wa sahlan. Inshallah, I will be hopefully getting you on as well if you're available on one of the MindTraps sessions, if you're feeling that is. Inshallah, it'd be a pleasure. So, I feel that these are some questions. However, as far as the UK is concerned, I feel, this is my opinion, that the UK did not obviously, I mean, this part is a fact, did not want to go into lockdown, but it only went into lockdown due to public pressure. Once in lockdown, I feel that certain, maybe behind closed doors, some people are definitely benefiting. I feel that there must be somehow some people are definitely benefiting now from the lockdown. Therefore, it's in the government's interest to sustain the lockdown. This social distancing, I think, is good, but I don't think it's as effective as they claim. I personally feel the real issue, all they need is just a functioning, strong healthcare system, which the government is refusing to set up. Like the Nightingale Hospital and the NEC in Birmingham, these are two pathetic attempts. I mean, I'm sorry, but according to me, they're pathetic. I think that for a country like the UK, you could have had 100 hospitals up within this time frame. All you needed was to rent out 100 different hotels, lease them out, they'd be empty anyway, air cargo in the equipment, runways are empty. I mean, the country has money, it has resources. You just had to graduate all final year medical students, all final year nurses. If need be, second year students. You would have a staff of 50,000, you'd have 100,000 beds and a standing army to move equipment. It would be up and running within 14 days. The fact that none of this has happened shows that, to me, that it's deliberate. Therefore, I think what the government is doing with this social distancing is it's using it as a tactic to blame the public. So now when you try to ask the government why things are happening, they will just say, well, we gave you the solution. The solution was stay at home. You didn't. So it's your fault. And they are aware that the public will start blaming each other anyway, which they've already started doing, saying, oh, look, these people have gathered, it's their fault. Where the real people at fault are the government for not having a strong functioning healthcare system in place. And all they're doing is just I seriously believe they're beefing up the death toll. every death that they can remotely link because they coughed, they're putting it as COVID. And what they're going to do is, I feel by mid-April, they're going to start dropping the numbers just to make it look like they are now in control. I definitely feel that there's so much more than meets the eye going on. And I don't think the way they're saying social distancing is the solution. This is, to me, it may help, but I think it's just a facade. That's my thoughts. I heard that, that they're going to ban certain free speech now, and it was in the papers today that speaking about certain things will be banned now, that they're looking at passing some laws. I mean, it's crazy how Orwellian things have got. I read somewhere they were thinking of passing certificates to say that you are COVID free, and then you can travel about with these certificates. I thought, check this out. What is this, 1984? Right. Oh, Hassan, shukran. Your view regarding hell being extinguished one day. Yep, absolutely. I mean, that is the view of some of the Salaf and of Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim. I actually believe that hell and heaven, as mentioned in the Quran, are more symbolic, and I've got detailed videos on that anyway. Right. Oh, right. So I did say I was going to share some views about something how some of my views have moved on certain things, and it ties into a question that somebody had asked, that what do I think about stories of the prophets. Now, I know I had been asked previously about Adam alayhi salam, and what do I feel was this tree of knowledge, or this kind of tree, this forbidden fruit. What was it? Now, I don't know, at this stage, right, design talks. I'll get to your question in a moment. Right. Right, now, I've previously said about Adam alayhi salam that, look, I have highlighted, I still, there is a diversity of opinion. I've even been intrigued by the view that was the reference, the prohibition that don't do, was it actually to things like intercourse? Some scholars had highlighted that it was about intercourse and so on. And I'd said that sounds quite intriguing, and I've discussed that in the past. However, I feel now, this is okay, now I've kind of moved on, I think. I feel that Adam alayhi salam, this tree of knowledge, the forbidden fruit, may have been a kind of psychoactive plant. Okay. And I feel that psychoactive, whether it was something, I don't know exactly what plant, but something with psychoactive properties. The way you have psilocybin in mushrooms, or you have DMT and the ayahuasca kind of plants, but you have other kind of plants. DMT is found in other plants. Other drugs, similar kind of chemicals are found in other plants that are psychoactive. I feel that I've been kind of looking into some of these things, saying some researchers who have said that they also feel that human consciousness may have been triggered by psychoactive plants. And I'm inclined that way. So I feel that maybe, because I have said before that I think that Adam alayhi salam was the father of the cognitive revolution. I've said that before on many occasions. And this kind of cognition arrives with consciousness. So it could have been that this shajaratul khuld, this tree of this kind of eternal fathoming and cognition, was a psychoactive plant. And by consuming that, it triggered consciousness. And maybe certain things were then represented as a story. So there may have been, whether a snake, so for example, you have in the biblical version, the snake in the Quranic version, the shaitan kind of showing them to this plant. And in the biblical version, it's a serpent. It shows them to it. I mean, these things could have been, as an example, it could have been that a snake moving towards this plant is what guides them to it. It guides their attention to this thing. This is then later kind of personified in a story narrative form. So, which would mean that these are, they're not necessarily metaphors. They are kind of truths, but they're kind of personifications of events, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I mean, this is a slightly interesting book, Food of the Gods, by Terence McKenna, a radical history of plants, drugs, and human evolution. And he also has a section in here about the tree of knowledge, and could this be these kind of psychoactive drugs? And I think that that's quite, I don't know, I'm finding it quite intriguing at this moment in time. Allahu A'lam. Maybe in time to come my thoughts will change again, but at this stage, yeah, I don't know what I've said about the whole Adam story. I've not read that from here. I don't know whether he says it. I've not actually read this yet. I've just got this, but I know he has a section in there on the food of knowledge. That's why I kind of ordered it. But this was just me thinking about it. I was kind of thinking, and I've read there's certain researchers who have said that maybe human evolution, as in scientists, they've said that maybe human evolution of cognition, of consciousness, was triggered by psychoactive, hallucinogenic properties in plants. That humans kind of hominins started to eat these, like Homo sapien, and it triggered, like, because as they tripped, it triggered consciousness. That is a theory within evolution. And I was just looking at it, kind of thinking about it, tripping, thinking about it, and I was thinking, well, and it could be that a snake, for example, led them to it. It could be that this is, and then this is later personified in this kind of story. I mean, Allahu A'lam. That's my thoughts. Right. What if that lie was a part of his essence and motives? I don't know what lie. It makes you think, what is God's plan? Right. Is somebody asking, do I believe that God is lying? No, I don't believe God is lying, if that's what you're asking. I don't believe narratological truths are lies. I don't believe that. I believe that narratological truths are still truths, but they're in a different format. It may take on a kind of, it may take on a narrative form, a personification. It may take on certain things, but they're not actually lies. And this is a very interesting book I've got somewhere, which I finished. It's called, what's it? Something about the edge, but it's about it's a study on the oral tradition that spans over 10,000 years from the Ice Age in certain places, like especially the Aborigines in Australia and places like this, how they've continued certain oral traditions, and they seem to, when you look back through geological kind of computing, you can see, like, when they will say, oh, when there used to be an island over here, and there actually was, now you can tell, but obviously you can't see now because it's submerged in water, but it's been submerged since the kind of Younger Dryas days, so like since 10,000 years, but they've got it in their stories still. So these things are not, I think we sometimes infantilize the oral tradition. We think it's kind of dumb, but it's not. Right, so what is going on, people? What is going on? Let me, what's this? Where are the questions being asked? Don't see any of them on this Facebook thread. Somebody said about Terence McKenna. I haven't actually read his book yet, but I will. My thoughts on Sheikh Riyad al-Haqq. I'd love to get Sheikh Riyad al-Haqq on MindTrap. If anybody is in touch with him, why don't you have a chat with him and let's get him on, inshallah. If he's willing, that is. What is your view on impossible pork? I don't know what impossible pork is. The wudu video, I will do that, inshallah, but right now, because of COVID, we can't really kind of go out and do recordings and things like that. But I did actually want to do that within the masjid. What do you think of the views of AbdulKarim Soroush and Ahmed al-Qabbanji that the Quran is not God's word but Muhammad's human articulation of the experiences he had? Okay, I've not actually read these two people. I'll check them up, inshallah. AbdulKarim Soroush and Ahmed al-Qabbanji. I'm not sure. I have read, I can't remember who now, but there have been certain people I've come across who've said, like Muslims, who've said that the Quran is, like, they believe it's divine, but divine in the sense that it's kind of the intuitive voice that the Prophet is hearing. So it's kind of the articulation of the Prophet. I've heard some people say that, but they feel that it's kind of, I don't know how to express it, that its origin or its emergence within the mind of the Prophet or the heart of the Prophet is divine, but they feel that it's then encapsulated by the Prophet. I have heard some people, I've read somewhere some people kind of saying things like that. I don't remember the names now, who they were. They were Muslims, I suppose, kind of like academics, and I think some of them trained as well in the Islamic sciences, but I don't remember their names at this stage. Do you know Dr. Sayyid Hussein Nasr? Yep. I don't know him personally, but I do know him. If likewise, people, if you're in touch with interesting people, reach out to them, ask them if they're willing to be on the MindTrap show, and if they are, then I'd love to get them on, inshallah. Muhammad Nizami, yes. I do know him. Would I say my outlook is similar to his? I don't know. Maybe his outlook is similar to mine. I feel that I do know him. I have reached out to him and asked him, would he like to come on my show? But he said not yet, maybe later on. I feel that a lot of people do agree. A lot of people who are open-minded, they probably would agree with my kind of views. But I think if they're scholars, in all honesty, I don't think they have the courage to articulate the kind of views that I articulate, because they would be just shut down. There's no two ways about that. They would honestly just be shut down. It's as simple as that. You would have to be 100% independent, which I am. I'm not affiliated with a single masjid. I have nothing to do with that kind of any kind of Islamic entity. And therefore, I can just say whatever the hell I want. I can do what I want. I can, read like I'm telling you now, this is intriguing, and so hence my views have shifted. I couldn't, if I was part of a masjid, I may not be able to articulate something like that because they might not like what I have to say. That kind of committee or that board or my following may be too harsh, and So this is the problem with most of these imams and scholars. Right, what is going on, people? Mufti, please answer my question on social drinking, especially because I have grown up in the West around all my life. I don't know what social drinking means. What does that mean? How do you earn money? Businesses and investments. What you mean, you creating your own, the Layth? I don't know what that means. Can we say Adam was created in the heavens in complete final form and sent down to earth, being the Big Bang, evolution from a single cell? I feel that there's no conflict in saying that Adam alayhi salam was part of the evolution chain. There's nothing, I see zero conflict in Islam and that. It's just that certain narratological verses are being taken literally. That's all. By some people who have a problem. And really, the Muslims reacting to evolution, there's two core reasons why Muslims are reacting to the evolution debate. Part one is Muslims, unfortunately, just follow Christians. And this is the truth. You know, in many modern things, we just follow what the Christians do. And the Bible Belt Christians have been kind of pumping out this nonsense of sheer creationism. And Muslims have jumped onto the back of it, especially in the 90s, people like Harun Yahya and that series. And this just really kind of, Muslims, as soon as, the problem is once Muslims get somebody, they just, celebrate them to death. So Harun Yahya. So everything was awesome about Harun Yahya until he revealed who he was. Him and his harem of kittens, as he calls them. All right. Now that's how you live life. So I mean, he made a proper fool out of people, and people, they're so busy. This is the problem with some, and this is why religion gets such a bad rep, because of people like this. That once they get something, they just shove their own head so far up that person's behind that they lose all focus of reason. So anyway, I mean, they pursued. So this is problem number one. The Christians. We follow the Christians blindly. The hard Bible Belt Christians. That is honestly true, whether most Muslims know it or not. Secondly, the reason why there's been such an anti-evolution stance is because evolution didn't come from us, the Muslims. And it's just a hatred against the West. Like, we just hate on anything the West comes up with. If Muslims had discovered evolution, it wouldn't be a problem, but it's because the West came up with it, and it's like, oh my God, this is such an insult against Islam. And it's nothing to do with, and if Adam alayhi salam was born off womb, so what? I mean, what difference does that make to Adam? I mean, he would still be, in my understanding, the father of the cognitive revolution. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on all of this. I feel that there's no problem with evolution and Islam, and there's many verses in the Quran. And in fact, if I'm to be honest, I feel that it's interesting, and this, to me, as a believer, it kind of shows the proof of Islam, the proof of the Quran. Because if the Quran was from the Prophet, like he was making it up as he goes along, I feel that the answers to these kind of questions wouldn't have been vague. They would have been concrete. So when they ask about, for example, now you could say, well, there are verses where Allah is saying, oh, and I created Adam with my own two hands. That's true. But those kind of verses, to be fair, they're in other places as well to kind of show a sense of care. You know, that about like, oh, and Allah saying, oh, and I had you made, you know, in my eyes and so on. And but these, so that is, I mean, that is part of that language. But then they would have been clear verses, like when they ask about Jesus, did he have a father? There would have been a clear verse saying Jesus did not have a father. But yet there was no verse in the Quran ever. When Allah speaks about how mankind came about, and there's at least 6 verses in the Quran that refer to خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنْثَى, and we created you from a single soul, and from it we created its partner. In none of these verses is Adam ever mentioned. Now, you see, this would have happened, in my understanding, if it was coming from the Prophet, because that would have been the only narrative. When Allah says he created Adam and he said be and it is, but he says first, and he created him from soil or whatever it is, clay, and then said be and it is. Whereas it would have just said God said be and he was. But it mentions, and he created him. There's always a vagueness. How Eve is never mentioned in the Quran, because I don't believe there was an Eve. I believe that Adam would have had multiple Homo sapien partners. And hence, this is how population kind of multiplied with this kind of cognitive revolution. But that, once again, I feel that the Quran would have, if it was coming from the Prophet, it would have had this as a kind of, like as a slip up, but it didn't. And these things, to me, as a person, as an individual, as a Muslim, they are kind of proof that the Quran, to me, I believe it to be divinely revealed. Because I feel that, look, you know, it's too easy to have slipped up and said something like that. Because, especially the Jesus thing, like, think about it, not a single verse. And yes, there are certain verses that could be understood that way. But why not a clear verse then? Why not just one saying, and by the way, Jesus never had a dad? You know, there's no difficulty in saying that, because that's what most of the people at that time believed. Most of the Christians. So, yeah, I hope that's of some help. Yusuf, you're doing it. What's this? Somebody said dinosaurs. Tahir, you're doing it. Dinosaurs, as in, did they exist? Of course they existed. Somebody said, but isn't it implied? It may be. I don't believe that to be true. I believe Jesus did have, alayhi salam, did have a father. As many, as there have been several mufassirin and scholars of Islam who have held that view. But it's interesting, the Quran does it both ways. Some verses of the Quran imply that Jesus had a father. Some imply that he didn't. But this is my point. It would have been too easy to just say, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ أَبٍ, that he had no dad. He had no father. It would have been too easy to just say it. Why wasn't it said? And that, to me, is the kind of compelling point. Alright, people, what is going on? I don't understand this. AR keeps asking about wanting to drink alcohol. Come on, yaar. If you're going to do what you're going to do, why do you want it always rubber stamped by religion? This is another thing I don't get with people. Some people, they want everything to be rubber stamped by religion. Like, I want to do this now. Okay, TK, do whatever you want to do. I mean, you live in this world after all. No, okay, I'm going to do it, but I want God to stamp it as well. Can you imagine if you had that approach with your own dad? In real life, your mum and dad. Oh, I'm about to do this. Mum and dad, can you stamp this? okay, I'm about to go, I'm about to get up to some hanky-panky, can you rubber stamp this for me as well? You know, like, what do you really, what is this kind of, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like a kind of weird, like an awkward, socially awkward, like autistic way of looking at religion. Like these people are theologically autistic. Like they think like, oh, I'm gonna do this now. Oh, I'm about to swear. Can God rubber stamp it? Oh, I'm about to do this now. Can God rubber stamp it? Oh, I'm about to do this now. Can God? Has God got nothing better to do? Then rubber stamp your nonsense. It's true though. I mean, you wouldn't even ask your own parents to rubber stamp everything in life. You know, it'd get embarrassing. So it's just dumbness though, isn't it? Honestly. Were there any muftis in the Prophet's time? Of course not. The Prophet was there. Right, so what is going on? What is going on? Yeah, Salam Mufti, you're doing it. What do you think about the fact that the first soul in the Quran is used as feminine? Yeah, I get, you know, it's intriguing. I'm still trying to figure that out. I think there must, I feel that there's a deeper meaning to some of these things. It's interesting that, do we feel that the cosmos or these things out there are, I don't know, like I feel that there's some connection with something out there about the feminine. I don't just mean the women, obviously feminine, but I mean like there's something, even like to do with consciousness. It's kind of like, and I think I haven't gone through the book yet, but I've gone through some kind of interviews by Terence McKenna and other people about how the people who experience psychedelics and things like this, they feel a feminine force out there. And I think there must be something to this. I don't know, like I feel that there is, but I'm still trying to explore and learn all about all of that. Where does it say the first soul was feminine? It says in the Quran that, you know, Allah created, that He created you from a single soul. وَمِنْهَا, and from it, but ha is feminine. From the feminine soul He created its partner, and then from there He created the rest of you. So it is interesting. Like some people say, well, that's just a linguistic. It could be, but or it could have some deeper meaning to it. Yeah, like how nature is perceived as Mother Nature, and I'm just intrigued by that, and I'm really intrigued by all these kind of the kind of psychedelic explorations that people have, and it's a shame that a lot of Muslims don't explore this. I was reading through this other book. I've got it here somewhere. Let me see if I can grab it. There it is. The Cosmic Serpent: DNA and the Origins of Knowledge by Jeremy Nobby. And this, I mean, I haven't finished it, but it's very interesting about his search through trying to explore ayahuasca and these other kind of plants in South America, and the experiences as a sociologist and an anthropologist. It's really fascinating, and I feel that when these people go into that realm, this realm of consciousness, I feel that is, I am more, not inclined, I am kind of sold on that is a kind of realm. I feel that it's not just imagination. I feel that there is a kind of realm that ties in somehow to the cosmos. And physicists have actually said this. A lot of physicists, believe it or not. I mean, not the majority, but many have kind of argued that there is, in the great unification of everything, that maybe these dimensions exist. So I feel that, yeah, and these people always highlight how the feminine plays such a big role in that kind of journey of this. It's always a woman, for example, that's the this, whenever they kind of travel on these kind of psychedelics, it's always, regardless of whether a man is going or a woman, it's always a woman that receives them. And it's always this kind of feminine force, and I think there's more to this, but I don't think it's just yes, and it's a shame that Muslims don't seem to really support this DMT exploration, and I do support them. I think that these things are not haram. I think it's absurd that they're outlawed in certain countries. I think the very notion that a plant is is illegal is an absurd and obnoxious kind of claim. To say a plant is illegal, I find that the dumbest of all, like, of dumb, like such a dumb statement. This a plant is illegal. And this just goes to show how human beings somehow, where we kind of lose our path. But yeah, I feel that there's a lot Muslims can learn from other cultures and shamans and people like this and people who are more in tune with nature. But that's my thoughts on that. Um, yeah. Somebody said snakes are evil. I mean, I think human beings have an kind of innate. They have a kind of innate fear of snakes. This has maybe been hardwired into our DNA for so many thousands and thousands of years. It's one of the oldest known fears that mankind have carried. It's interesting why snakes, why not tigers or lions or but we seem to have this kind of long history of this kind of animosity, this hostility with snakes. Is it because they're hidden and they kind of slither, and is it because of that? Is it because of the they're difficult to kind of fight off, whereas you could see a lion approaching? And I don't know, but I mean, evolution does have a bit to say on that. Somebody said, what do you think of GSA, genetic sexual attraction? Yeah, I mean, in evolution, and it seems to be recognized as a thing that people are attracted to kind of genetic similarities. And that's in creatures as well, by the way. It's in so they've done several studies. If you read through the book, The Third Chimpanzee, he has a whole section dedicated to that. It's very fascinating on mice when they're given a choice to mate with certain, and how they would surprisingly sometimes choose those who shared a similar scent. And it's interesting, it's fascinating, that the whole study. So they would sometimes choose those that bore a resemblance to them over others that didn't, that weren't kind of related. But they wouldn't choose their siblings, even the mice, even those that were separated since birth wouldn't. And that's very intriguing. I found that to be very intriguing. Who the hell is... all right. Right. This is... all right. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can you hear me? Uh, right. I'm sorry. Can I call you after my show? I'm just doing a show Q&A live. Is that all right? Probably in about an hour, if that's okay. Cool. All right. Much love, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum. Right, apologies for that. That's hopefully that will be going down for tomorrow night. It's Dr. Shabir Ali, so that's on MindTrap. People, watch out tomorrow night. Going down, going down. Right, inaya, you're doing it. Rahma is associated with the womb. Raham, that's correct. Yeah, Rahim. Um, Allah is motherly, since Allah gave the mother as an example. Yes, we should all try DMT after 25. I agree. After 25, definitely. Um, right. So, people, what's going down? What's going down? All right. So, yeah, I take a call mid show. It's my show. I do what the hell I want. Let's take some of your questions, people. Let's take some of these questions. What's going down? Right. So, thoughts on Mufti Abdul Rahman Mangera? Yeah, you can, if you reach out to him. Time to come live on my MindTrap. I'll enjoy. Let's take a look at some of these. Some of the pandemic fiqh, people. Oh, before that, yes, salam. I've got a poem here, people. Allah, Allah, Allah. Those of you that the Urdu poet lovers out there, people. Allah, Allah, Allah. This is by Nasir. I thought it was Nasir Kazmi, but it may not be. Maybe a different Nasir. Says, पत्थर बना दिया मुझे रोने नहीं दिया अल्लाह दामन भी तेरे गम ने भिगोने नहीं दिया. So people, you get that? Patthar, that it turned me into rock. It didn't even let me cry. Such was your sorrow, people. It didn't even let my tears flow and kind of it doesn't sound as well in English, you see. When you say daman is really the kind of your kind of garments to kind of wet them all out with your tears. But daman is used as a metaphor quite a bit in the Urdu language. पत्थर बना दिया मुझे रोने नहीं दिया दामन भी तेरे गम ने भिगोने नहीं दिया तन्हाइयाँ तुम्हारा पता पूछती रही शब भर तुम्हारी याद ने सोने नहीं दिया आंखों में आके बैठ गई आंसू की लहर पलकों पे भी कोई ख्वाब पे रोने नहीं दिया. People, and he finishes it with this. नासिर यूं उसकी याद चली हाथ थाम कर. Allah, Allah, Allah. That this is how he's saying her memories went, by taking hold of my hand. नासिर यूं उसकी याद चली हाथ थाम कर मेले में इस जहां के खोने नहीं दिया. Wow, wow, wow. I came across that. I was really moved by that last line. That in this kind of fair of life, this is kind of giving the metaphor that it didn't let me get lost. Right, people, there's a lot of, with this whole COVID thing, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. People are wondering, prayers, worship, rituals, Hajj, Ramadan. So the COVID fiqh, pandemic fiqh, people, is going down. So first of all, what we'll do is take a look at some different categories to do with ibadat, which is worship, and how somebody's asked, do you think you're a bit harsh with the Ahmadiyya? Right, come on, don't distract me. I'm trying to get on with this for now, and I'll come to that question. I'll come to that afterwards. Okay, so right, so COVID fiqh, pandemic fiqh, people. Starting off with worship, and we begin with ritual purification, wudu, ghusl, things like this. So if a person is ill during the pandemic, or it could be another illness as well, but we're just saying, since this is the most pertinent, this deen is one of these, people. As there are other options. If it's difficult for you, if you're feeling nauseous or you're feeling, not really up to it, and you've got to do wudu, you can just do tayammum. Okay, so you can just use a stone and you just simply, you wipe over your face, you touch the stone again, you wipe over like that, and that's it. Tayammum is done. Tayammum substitutes wudu and ghusl. Okay, and in the understanding that I take, it's you do not need to repeat that wudu or ghusl. It's done. It substitutes it perfectly, as Imam Malik said. One is not better than the other. So that's to do with purification. If if there's any hardships in purifying, then you can take this kind of dispensation of tayammum. Okay, so that's for people who maybe maybe they're not feeling well, they're kind of fevered up, nauseous, exhausted, and you don't need to be dying. I know in the Hanafi fiqh they kind of treat tayammum like borderline. You're on a ventilator or something. The Malikis are much more relaxed. Okay, let's move on to prayer. Okay, so that's with purification, you've got that dispensation. Okay, then moving on to prayer. People, if you're not feeling well, or you're feeling nauseous, or there's some kind of, and sometimes even during the pandemic, because you're kind of locked up, it could cause people to kind of almost break down. But whatever the reason, it's out of the ordinary. To create ease, first of all, you can combine your prayers if you need to. Okay, so you can combine Dhuhr and Asr, you can combine Maghrib and Isha. Okay, if you are ill, and you're not feeling very well, not only can you combine prayers, I feel you can shorten prayers. Okay, now these are, and the reason being that if you can shorten prayers for being a traveler, then in most of the verses it does seem to usually imply, although many scholars didn't seem to take it for the sick person, but the verses do seem to kind of, generally the verses of ease do seem to show that. And if you can do this for traveling, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ إِنْ خِفْتُمْ, if you were afraid. And the scholar said, you don't even need to be afraid. Allah says if you're afraid, you don't even need to be afraid. So if you can do it for traveling, then min babi awla, it is even more deserving that you do this here. Okay, that's if you want to, that is. I feel the option is there if you are actually ill. Okay, so that's in terms of, and think about it, that if fear in traveling, person could plan his prayers around here, around there. You could have been told to do that. Nowadays, most people travel in luxury, yet they still, without any hesitation, shorten the prayers. So why not when you're actually ill? So that's my understanding in terms of the prayers. The other thing is that I feel it's actually compulsory to shut down the masjids during the pandemic. You should be following these guidelines, and people should not be kind of striving to go to the mosque to pray. However, here there is a ruling. Can you pray, for example, what about things like Jum'ah? Now, I would say, or even Salatul Jama'ah, praying in congregation, there is a question that first of all, you can miss Jum'ah and just do regular Salah, regular Dhuhr. But can you pray in congregation without being in a congregation? So, for example, if it was on a radio, or I know some communities have a kind of like a radio transmitter in the homes from that masjid. So let's say the imam in some masjids is attending the mosque and there's a caretaker there. They're just going to make sure the building's fine, nobody's broken in, things like this. And if the imam was, let's say, doing a Jummah, even if he was doing it from home, and he's got two people at home praying, could you be praying behind him with that radio transmitter or by following the TV? Could you be doing this? Now, the majority of the people have, even though they have said no, there have been some scholars who have been, great scholars, like, see, the Abul Fayd al-Hafid, the great Hafid of Hadith, Ahmed al-Ghumari, who wrote a whole book called Al-Iqna' بصحة الصلاة بصحة صلاة الجمعة خلف المذياع, that the validity, Al-Iqna' was the name of his book, regarding the validity of prayer over the radio. Now, he argues in his book, and his book is available online. If you type in Iqna', you can download it. He speaks about how it's valid because there's nothing in the Quran or Sunnah that demonstrates the salah would be invalid. He quotes fatwa, and because in the past, the scholars, there were people who, for example, let's say there was a question if a person prayed on the minaret following the jama'ah, would his prayer be valid? Now, many people said that it would be valid. There were traditionally many fatwa about if, let's say, the rows are all complete and now you're praying, but there's a river in between. So you're praying on that side of the river, following the people on this side of the river. Most ulama, like Ibn Abdul Bar, all these great different madhabs will say usually that prayer is fine, even though you're not technically connected to them. But they say, well, you can see them, so it's fine. Just as in the masjids nowadays, you pray in all the different rooms. Now, the different rooms, you can't actually see the imam. But they say it's fine because you're following the speakers. And and you're kind of joined by space, even though it's a separate room, but the building, you're joined by the building and so on. Now, similarly, he's argued for what is you're joined by kind of virtual space. Now, this fatwa I would say that if you wanted to, you don't have to pray like this, you could just pray dhuhr. But if you wanted to, I would say it would be valid in these kind of circumstances, you could do that. And it's not the first time that the scholars have recognized virtual space. Okay, so you had to be in the same majlis. So I had to be within this context and buying and selling for this transaction to be valid. The scholars then said, as the kind of means, but they will say the transaction is fine because you share a virtual space. So based on that, I would say that if a person in this day and age was, especially during these rules, during the pandemic, if they wanted, if Jum'ah was so important for them that they felt, I have to pray Jum'ah, in that case, they could do it khalf al-midya, by following the radio transmitter or the TV. If the person had recorded it and, put it live and they followed that, it is permissible. So that's what I would highlight. Okay. Moving on to, let's take a look at zakat. There are people who have already written, like people like Sheikh Dr. Ali al-Qarahdaghi and other people who've written already stating that many Muslims delay their zakat up until Ramadan. And I'm going to come to Ramadan in a moment. So it is better in this time, in this quarantine, to bring your zakat, to kind of not postpone, but to kind of bring it earlier, to pay your zakat now, especially since people around the world are suffering due to this quarantine and lockdown. And that does make an immense amount of sense. So that's, if you are somebody that does pay zakat annually and you pay it during Ramadan, then maybe paying it earlier, even though we're very close to Ramadan now, may be a very sensible thing to do. I would advocate that as well. Right, other than that, for zakat, what if your zakat is due, but you're just about borderline and you're fearful for your family and your own income? If you're just borderline and you don't have enough kind of savings, or you just about kind of make that benchmark and you're worried, I would say if you're worried, could you delay it? And, because you want to make sure these months go by fine before you give in charity and things, I would say that's permissible as well. In the sense that, charity does begin at home. So you should kind of prioritize yourself and your family. I would say that, but hand in hand with that, I would also put that, look, do have an element of tawakkul, that Allah will provide for you, okay? And you'll see that He will. I know that sounds sometimes so bizarre, but, throughout my life, I, especially, for a considerable portion of my life, maybe at least a decade, I've really kind of had this understanding that, look, Allah will provide for me. And I've noticed, and I know it's impossible to explain, but I've noticed with that has come exponential growth in my kind of rizq. And I've kind of given, and the more I've given, especially to kind of family members, people, my parents, people like that, the more I do that, and the more this, and I call it an art of giving. Like, you have to really kind of let go of this kind of this almost innate miserliness. You have to let go of that. And I found that whenever I personally do that, sometimes, like, I might give and I might kind of be thinking, what if I'm kind of I'm a bit low, and I find that I get exponential kind of amounts in return coming from places which I didn't anticipate. So I would say that, look, yes, you can delay if you are worried, but at the same time, do have this kind of element of tawakkul. It is incredibly powerful. I would encourage that. Moving on to Ramadan, people. Ramadan. Now, this is an important one. It has stirred an immense amount of controversy throughout the Muslim world right now, especially some of the Arab countries, Egypt, some of the Middle East, and some of North Africa. There's been immense debate on the TV channels. What do we do about Ramadan in the pandemic? Now, I'm going to highlight several options, okay? And I believe all of these options are permissible. I believe that if you feel that Ramadan is absolutely fine for you and you are going to fast it, you're absolutely sound, you've got the conviction, you want to do it, then do it. It is absolutely fine for you to proceed with Ramadan. Okay? That's position number one. Position number two. Right, so sorry, as a caveat from position number one, just to clarify, that's for people who are normal. If you're ill and the doctor has advised you do not fast, then do not fast. Okay, by position number one, I meant normal people. I suppose, like I'm sitting here, many of you are sitting there, you're not actually ill. You're just in lockdown. If you feel that you can do it and you want to do it and you've got the conviction, then do it. And you want to do it full, then do it. It's up to you. It's your call. But the caveat is, if you are ill, then no. Follow the doctor's advice. If the doctor says no, then no. Don't do it. Make up for it. Okay? Do not, as the Quran says, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Do not destroy yourselves over some kind of piety. Allah is not in need of your piety. Okay. So, and there is a hadith that إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَن تُؤْتَى رُخَصُهُ. Allah wants his rukhas to be taken, his kind of dispensations. Second layer, if you are you feel capable of fasting, but you're not too sure, you can take the option, and I've highlighted this previously from last year. You can take the option of timed fasting, because we live, especially in the West, especially in the UK, in a huge part of Europe and presumably North America, maybe some parts of it. Our time zones, the kind of length of days is extraordinary. It's not like how it is close to the equator with most Muslim lands, where there's a balanced day and night. Our days, right, our days are incredibly disproportionate to the nights. So the days become incredibly lengthy. So I've highlighted that based on this, there are several fatwa that you can just take a set time, like anything from 12 hours to 13 hours, if you like, anything like that, and you can just fast those fixed times. So you can fast from, let's say, 5 a.m. till 6 p.m., 5 a.m. to even 5 p.m., or 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., or 6 till 7, like between 12, maybe 13. If you want to do more, it's up to you, but I would say that would be the minimum. That you're taking a day and splitting it in half, which gives you 12 hours, and anything over that to be a bit on the safe side. If you did 12 and a half to 13, that would be the bare minimum. So you can just fast in a timed manner. So this is option number 2. Okay, so you can do that. You could just have timed fasts, and that would make things maybe easier for you. But once again, if you're under medical instructions not to be fasting, then do not fast. Okay. Option number 3. This is that even though you're not ill, but you're fearful that, look, it's strange circumstances. We are being told to keep our immune system healthy because, there's a pandemic, a global pandemic, and even though I'm not ill, but I could fall ill, and I don't want to compromise the situation. Therefore, I'm going to make sure I'm healthy. I'm going to make sure I'm eating. You can delay Ramadan till later on in the year. You can delay it till winter. There's no problem. I feel that you can take that ruling. There have been certain people who've said that, people Sa'aduddin al-Hilali, some other people from Egypt. There's been a few other scholars that have given that fatwa. I would say that is an absolutely permissible fatwa to take. If you are feeling that, and it's your call. It's nobody else's call to make. So it's your call. If you feel that, look, you know what, I don't want to risk it. I want to make sure my immune system is up to scratch. I want to make sure I'm drinking a lot of water throughout the day. I want to make sure I'm having my vitamins. I want to make sure I'm eating. Right now there's a global pandemic. I don't want to catch something. I don't want to give it to my parents, make them, compromise their health. I don't want to do this. You have the God-given right to say, well, fine, I'll fast later on in the year. I'll fast in December. It is up to you. And Imam Shatibi explains that every person is faqihun nafs. You are your own judge. Okay? Nobody else can make that call for you. Okay? So, just to be clear on these rulings, and all of this, like I'm saying, this is for the kind of regular folk. Those who are ill, really, I think, as far as I'm assuming, that fasting for them is not good. They should leave it altogether. They should follow the medical advice, and they can make up for it later on. If they feel that they can't make up for it, they can just give fidya. Okay, and that is sufficient if they are ill. So those who are struck down with coronavirus or they're suffering, they can miss it and they can simply give fidya, or they can make it up later on. They have that choice, right? Just as pregnant women or women who are nursing their children, right, breastfeeding their children, these women, I feel, according to the fatwa of Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, that they do not need to make up their Ramadan. They can just give a fidya for it, and that's sufficient. And hence the verse of the Quran, if you take the verse of the Quran as it's actually revealed and read, it states, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ, and upon those who can actually fast, like they have the capacity, the strength, they are capable of it. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ وَطَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. You know, that فِدْيَةٌ ta'amu miskin, that they give a fidya, meaning that they did not fast, but they were capable, they give a fidya. It does not mention that they make up for it. And this is why Ibn Abbas, Ibn Umar, they said that this was maybe for the pregnant women, because they were capable physically, but because they're pregnant, they want to make sure they're eating enough for the fetus. So because of this, they don't have to make up for it. Other ulama said they have to make it up later on. But so I would say in line with that. So these rulings, yep. One, if you want to and you're capable and you're not ill, then do it. You want to do 18 hours fast, do 18 hours fast. It's entirely up to you. Two, if you're thinking, well, I want to fast, but I ain't going to fast for 18, 19 hours, that would really just weaken me out. Then in that case, you can just do a timed fast. It doesn't matter about when it's sunrise, or you can set it accordingly. You can say every day I'll start my fast with, so for example, you could start it with sunrise. You could say, you know what, this time sunrise, or you could start it with a set time. So you could say, I'm going to start it at 5 a.m., start it at 4:30 a.m., I'm going to start it whenever, and I'm going to fast for 12 and a half hours or 13 hours, and that's fine. Or option number 3, you can delay Ramadan altogether and fast it later on. All of these options are valid. And if you are actually ill, then I think personally you should not fast. You must follow the medical advice. And you have an option of either making it up later on, or you can give the fidya now and not have to make it up. Fidya would be the meal of an average meal per day. So like, let's say, I don't know, £4. With £4 in the UK, you could get a kind of meal for somebody. So that would suffice. So you'd pay that for each day, for example. That's if you're not making it up. So that's all to do with that. Regarding the Taraweeh prayer, if you want to pray Taraweeh, that's excellent. You can pray it on your own. According to the Maliki madhab, that is the sunnah anyway. You're meant to pray it on your own. But and Imam Malik never used to go to the masjid to pray Taraweeh. He used to pray it on his own. But if you want to follow your local masjid or the TV, you can. I've given that fatwa before. Or if you're not feeling up to it, I feel that you do not need to pray Taraweeh. This is only a voluntary prayer. It's not an obligatory prayer. Okay, so you can miss that. That brings us on to Hajj, which is the final of the ibadat. Hajj for this year can be cancelled. We're cancelling Hajj, people. There's nothing strange about that. Okay. Many people have mentioned, I know a lot of people have written today that, look, this can be cancelled, Qarah Daghi, and many other ulama of Al-Azhar and other people have written as well. But in the past, you'll see people like At-Tartushi wrote it was haram to do Hajj because the path was dangerous to go there. So because of danger, they declared it haram. And this is why, even though Ibn al-Arabi, his student, says this is so ironic because he declares it haram to do Hajj, but yet he travelled all the way from Spain to the Middle East. But he didn't go to Hajj. Tartushi. Right, so Tartushi was a don though. So Tartushi, right, he's from Ibn al-Arabi's teachers. And he kind of meets up with him. They link up in the Middle East around Palestine and those places. So people like that, Ibn Rushd, even in his time, over 100 years late, it was still Hajj was haram. In fact, he writes about how it was pointless him even putting the book of Hajj in his book, but he thought, well, and he was going to remove it until somebody said, nah, just put it in there for the sake of tradition. Otherwise, for a few hundred years, nobody had done Hajj from that entire region of the world. And I've given examples before when the Karamita, the whether you want to in English call them the Karamites or the Karmatians, the Karamita for about 22 years almost, when they kind of wreaked havoc over the Hijaz, Hajj was cancelled, because if you went there they would just kill you. They believed Hajj was a pagan ritual. Like I mentioned, they stole the black stone. Ayo Abu Tahir al-Jannabi. Abu Tahir, I tell you. When he stole the black stone, you know what he said? He said, where's the Ababil? Because they tried to, I think they stole the door as well of the Kaaba. And the Kaaba has a kind of drain, right? The mizab. It has this kind of like golden drain for water to kind of like on the roof, coming off from the roof. So they were trying to break that off, but I think one guy fell off and died. So he said, you know what, okay, leave that. So I think they took the door, but they definitely took the black stone. But he said, I don't see any Ababil coming to attack me. Your humor is on point though, you gotta say. Otherwise he was a ruthless, vicious dog, but his humor was on point. I gotta give him that. He was like, he was like, does anybody else see them? I don't see them. He actually said this, I'm not making this up. He said, I don't see any Ababil coming to attack us. Because he claimed that this whole thing was, he claimed the whole Kaaba thing was pagan. And what he did is he blocked up the Zamzam. He just chucked loads of dead bodies in there. They blocked it all up. And that's what he was saying. He was saying that, right, where's the punishment? He was like, I don't see any punishment. I don't see God. He was like, I don't see God intervening. Ayo Abu Tahir al-Jannabi. And then he nicked the black stone. He took it. He was like, the black stone, he's like, I'll take this with me. And he held it ransom. Eventually, I think he got paid 50,000 dinars or something for it. And he still didn't give it. Ayo Jannabi. So anyway, that was the Karamita. But during their time, Hajj was cancelled for like 2 decades. But yeah, so I would say cancelling Hajj is absolutely fine. It's not the end of the world. Relax. Hajj has been cancelled on many occasions historically. So it's absolutely fine. Some people are freaking out. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. Relax. Calm down, mate. It's not the end of the world. Okay. Right, so I think as Jannabi said when he was destroying the Kaaba, that I don't really see it being the end of the world. So if it wasn't the end of the world then, it's not going to be the end of the world now. Right, so that's the fatwa surrounding all of this. I know the Ramadan one was really pressing people. Regarding other issues that may, like, so for example, getting married, nikah, during this nikah, if a person was to do a nikah during the lockdown pandemic, I mean, you can do a nikah in person. They can use video calls to conclude a nikah. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's probably concludes this entire section on the fiqh, on lockdown fiqh. I hope that's been of some help, people. Right, let's resume some questions, people. Hajj has been cancelled more than 40 times. Hajj has been cancelled on many occasions, but I just wanted to... Somebody said Yazid destroyed the Kaaba. Yazid didn't destroy the Kaaba, but Hajjaj did catapult it. But okay, I mean, Hajjaj catapulted the Kaaba in the sense that he He didn't seek out the Kaaba. You know, being fair, like he catapulted the Kaaba, which is atrocious, but he didn't, to be fair, he didn't, an objective, he didn't seek out the Kaaba to catapult it. What it was Abdullah ibn Zubayr, he went to fight Abdullah ibn Zubayr, who sought refuge around the Kaaba. So Hajjaj said, well, if you don't come out, I'm going to catapult anyway. I don't care if it hits the Kaaba or it doesn't. But he didn't like one day say, I know, let's go find the Kaaba and catapult it. Whereas Abu Tahir al-Jannabi purposely headed there because he said this was a pagan ritual. So whilst all the Hujjaj were gathered, he just slaughtered so many of them. Then he went to Mecca. They attacked the building. I think the door had pieces of gold or something in it, but I think they took the door, but they definitely took the black stone, and they wanted the pipe, because I think the pipe was made out of gold. But they couldn't seem to uproot the pipe, so they eventually just, I think one guy died. But the point was they attacked the Kaaba intentionally, like seeking it out, because they said this is a ritual, and they took it back to, Hajar was there, which is in Arabia, which was their capital, one of their capitals. Yeah. Right. Somebody said Mufti actually reads a lot of my comments. I read your comments. Yeah. Zeba said Mufti say Kabul hai. Chalo Kabul hai, huh? Andalus series was amazing. Shukran, Uthman. Any plans to do more? Yeah, I do. I want to do more. I want to maybe even redo the Andalus. I want to do one on the Fatimids, on the Umayyads, on the Abbasids, if I can, inshallah. Was Abu Talib Muslim? I've got a whole video on that. I believe personally I am in line with the fact that Abu Talib was Muslim. Mufti, who's your favorite Naat reciter? Oh, that reminds me, I saw this clip where this guy starts swearing. Oh, that was hilarious. That was. I want to actually load it and show it during here, but then I thought, I don't know, people might start saying, what's all these swear words on here? Mufti, can I do Hajj from... Do I have to pay zakat on money that I'm collecting separately? Zakat is on savings. Can I do Hajj from Skype? No, you can't. Relax yourself. Why is your fatwa on trimming the eyebrows? People can trim the eyebrows. It's not haram. What do you think of Salafis doing dawah in remote regions of South America? You see, I don't really like the Salafi dawah. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it causes so much harm. Like, they turn people into these kind of dogmatists, and they, anything they touch, they destroy almost, isn't it? I don't really like the Salafi da'wah. It turns people into kind of like extremists in their own way. I mean, I'm not saying they become terrorist extremists, but they become kind of extremists. Like, they start hating on people, and it's like they become Puritanists, isn't it? So it's like Salafi da'wah is Puritanism. That's what it is. So yeah. What do you think of Pir Meher Ali Shah? I think he was amazing. Yeah, Meher Ali Shah Sahab. Right. Do you listen to Naats? Occasionally, not too much. Is the Utbiyah reliable? Of course, the Utbiyah is reliable. And that debate Shamsi, I don't know who's Shamsi. Somebody's saying debate Shamsi. I've got no idea. Is that one of the guys that talks at Hyde Park or something? Mufti, what if I drink alcohol like wine and champagne but don't? Right, what other questions are going on, people? Meanwhile, let me see. What have I got here, people? What have I got here? Right, so... Peoples. Speaking about the Utbiyah, that brings us on to an interesting point here. That brings us on to this point we've got. that it reminds me that since we're in Easter, somebody's asked about the Jesus video. That ties in as well, since it's to do with Easter. And since Easter is to do with Easter eggs and Humpty Dumpty se yaad aaya. Our beloved Hamza Chaudhry Humpty Dumpty Walad Maqbool. Our beloved, what's the difference between fiqh books and Easter eggs? I don't know, but a bit of Easter eggs being eaten there. I guess one of the differences is that for Hazrat Chaudhry Humpty Saab, he can actually find Easter eggs, unlike fiqh books. So you can see here, my beloved has made a statement. Recently, famous Fulan mentioned that he held a heterodox opinion. No, this one. Claiming that Malik has reported to have held that Isa died. I have yet to see him give me a source. However, a Qadiani has taken this hadith. Qadiani, people, this. Oh my God! So this is our beloved people, our beloved Chaudhry Humpty Dumpty, right? So the difference between the Easter eggs and the fiqh books is that our beloved can find the Easter eggs, but he can't find the fiqh books. I have yet to find the source, the source. Abbe yaar, why are you trying so hard? Yahan, wahan, looking over here, huna, hunak, burning all these unnecessary calories. मैं हूं ना estoy aquí. So Abe yaar, your beloved is here. Al bayan wa tahsil. Beloved Chaudhry Saab probably doesn't even know about this book. You see, when Chaudhry Saab was here, when he came to visit me, he hadn't even heard of many of the Maliki fiqh books. So this one by Ibn Rushd al-Jad. This one, very nice, Ooh, ma hadha? Ooh. Fi sinni Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam. Now here's the text, the original quote that he's quoting from the Utubiyya. قال مالك كان عيسى بن مريم يقول يا ابن الثلاثين مضت الثلاثون فماذا تنتظر. That Isa alayhi salam used to address himself and say, oh, you who's 30 years old now, 30 years have passed, so what are you waiting for? Meaning, as in he's addressing himself as in your life is going to come to an end. Then qala, who? Who Humpty Dumpty? Obviously not Humpty Dumpty. Imam Malik. Qala. This is Imam Malik. وَمَاتَ ibn thalatha wa thalathina sana. Can you see highlighted? وَمَاتَ Mata. He died. Ibn Thalathin wa Thalathina sana. He died at the age of 33. Died. Now you could say that yes, Ibn Rushd disagreed with him. Ibn Rushd felt that maybe when Imam Malik said died, maybe he didn't mean died, maybe he meant this. Ibn Ashur says yes, he said he died, and all these people. But why is Chaudhry Humpty Saab saying that I can't find a source? I can't find it, No lo sé. ¿Dónde está? Imam Malik, ¿dónde está هذا القول? Where is it? Where? Abbe yaar, Chaudhary Sahab, हमसे पूछिए. Ask me. I'm here to give you these sources. There's no need bothering yourself with all this amidst this pandemic. अरे अपन बैठा है ना, इधर ही बैठा हूँ. Just ask me. I will tell you. This is the problem, you see. You get these. This is the problem when you get such people who, they'll make these kind of posts. Then they'll try to take digs that, a Qadiani has said this. Oh, Qadiani is trying to hint that a Qadiani people, he's trying to give you a hint. This is the problem. You see, he's trying to give a hint that maybe he's taking this from a Qadiani. That's what he's doing. He's trying to hint that, I must be taking my sources from a Qadiani. And this is the problem. Just because they do not know, they have no idea themselves of this kind of stuff. They don't know the books. They can't seem to find the sources. But in all honesty, even a simple Google search would have brought up that source. Chalo, obviously, I don't expect all these people to have these books, obviously. Just as I don't have a variety of chocolate bars, it doesn't mean everybody else has a variety of fiqh books. यार point की बात है. It's just because not everybody has a variety on everything. I'm just saying, peoples, mi gente. So in a similar way, a simple Google search would have landed this quite safely in his hands. Nevertheless, I've helped you with it now. So, Chaudhary Sahab, if you're ever stuck on anything, or if you don't know who Ibn Rushd al-Jadd is, or if you've never heard of the Utbiyah, or you've not heard of other things, no preocupes. Don't worry, hermano. Just what to do is just message me. I'll give you the details. But you don't need to make these ridiculous kind of posts saying, a Qadiani said this, so they took it from a Qadiani, even though we know who from the Deobandis, innate. We know that Maulana Qasim Nanotwi Sahab gave the fatwa saying that there could be prophets after the prophet, which was actually used by the Qadianis in their literature to say, look, your own Sunni scholars have given this fatwa. Maulana Qasim Nanotwi Sahab has said that there could be prophets after our prophet. So this one, not nice, you pointing the finger, the three fingers pointing the back, Right, so I just thought, since my beloved Chaudhary Sahab has said that, I had to kind of bring that up. It's muy importante, it's muy importante, right? So, people, right, now, that reminds me actually, what else has been going on? We've got also, I saw this, I thought this has to be shared, especially since it was shared by my techie assistant. They were getting messages that somebody said that, look, you're selling these prayer mats, ya salam, but did you know they come from China? Allah, Wuhan. And not only do they come from China, they've got the devil's face on it. I actually tried to zoom into the image. I'm sorry, I haven't got a zoomed up image here, but I couldn't see anything. I don't know what the hell people are honestly smoking. It makes zero sense to me. But they went on saying, look, this, I need you to know that this has got the devil's thing in it, and you're promoting this and you're selling it, and wallahi, honestly, it's no surprise that why we are in the state that we are as Muslims. It's so embarrassing sometimes. It's just ridiculously embarrassing. You know, I saw something else that reminds me. I saw something else as well. That there was this thing being shared about some Mufti who'd been up to some hanky-panky. Obviously, this kind of stuff, you have to be wary, people. This is gonna happen. Obviously, it's the nature of man. You see, as I often say, look, men are dogs. It's gonna happen, right? So people will always be hanky-panky, you know. So he was up to some hanky-panky. And I think it was some convert kind of sister. This is what the post said, a convert sister. I don't really use this term sister so much, but ठीक है, la bas. Right? But the point is, this lady was saying that she was now divorced and she was stressed out, so she started connecting with this Mufti and she shares all these text messages, right? So the Mufti Sahib was being naughty, you know, I come and help you, you know, help. So they were doing some hanky-panky, I don't know, some head and shoulders kind of. No, what's the other one? What's the one because you're worth it or something? What's the hair one? What's it called? Pan. It's on the tip of my tongue. But what's the hair shampoo? Yeah. I've forgotten it now. But it's something, you know, let me do this, let me run this through your hair and do this and do that. And she's writing, he was taking advantage of me and he did magic. He wrote this taweez. And he gave me this taweez and this taweez L'Oreal. But I thought there was another one for shampoo. But anyway, that's it. Pantene? Pantene. Alright, that's the one. You naughty. So he was like, let me rub this through your hair. Yeah, how come I don't get offers? Somebody rubbing through my hair. This is, you know, when women say they don't see the benefits of being women, everybody's prepared to do so much for you. Right, so I don't get no offers that, hey, Mufti Sahib, feeling a bit stressed out, I'll come and rub through your hair. So anyway, this Pantene advert or whatever it was, Pantene or whatever. So now she later on was saying that he left these taweez in my house. These taweez. And the taweez was to kind of he had bewitched her. It was a magic spell that she fell in love with him. I want to ask, what did she convert from like from like retardism to Islam? Magic spells. Did she convert from like the world of Harry Potter to Islam? I mean, is she even? Do people even listen to themselves? You did a magic spell on me. Oh, okay. Acha. Magic spell. What was the magic spell? You gave me this piece of paper. Ooh. Honestly, you know what? I honestly feel that both of these people are to blame. They both deserve to be blamed. Him for obviously thinking he runs L'Oreal. He's trying to run a franchise of L'Oreal. And her just as well. You know, come over to my house. Yeah, have you got a place where we should go to? Let's go to this place. Don't give me this malarkey that you don't know what is going on. Yeah, I'm naive. I'm a convert. I'm a white person. I don't know when a guy calls me that what he wants. Well, what white people they don't have sex in their world. What kind of a white people world were you living in? Like albino Talibans. Like, what kind of a... Come on, for God's sake, don't play this. This is why I see these things so laughable and so absurd, and at the same time so embarrassing deeply. On one hand, you've got this ridiculous Mufti doing some some dumb, super dumb stuff, and trying to take advantage, trying to obviously do this, and then trying to give her these taweez and do all this magic stuff, and her on the other hand saying, yeah, come over, do this, do that. Oh, now I'm bewitched by your magic spell. Oh, for the love of God, seriously. This is why we don't progress as Muslims. Because one, we have, we disproportionately have our share of retards. It's disproportionate. We're like 70% retards. That's just not fair. No, I don't mean people who are really suffering from disabilities. These kind of disabilities, I mean, which are not, they're not really disabled. So it's just unfair. So yeah, anyway, it's laughable. We read these things. I would like an oil massage, Mufti ji. You see, my point is, look, if you're going to do something, as a human being, you're going to do it. If you're going to do it, just do it. Don't use religion. Just do what, it's like somebody saying before, I want to do this, can God rubber stamp it? Acha, yeah. God's got nothing better to do than rubber stamp your nonsense. So, look, if you're going to do something, just do it as the person you are. Don't play all this kind of Islamic games of, read the Rood Sharif. Allahumma salli ala nabi, subhanallah. What the hell are you on about, man? I mean, what kind of sick sexting are you kind of playing at? This is just bloody crazy. Why are you trying to tell her to send salam upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam if you're trying to goddamn seduce her? I mean, that's not the way to do it. What the hell is wrong with you? And then, I mean, for God's sake, if you, what I'm trying to say is that, look, people are doing these kind of things everywhere, regardless of religion, regardless of community. Men and women are at it everywhere. So if you're going to be at it, just be at it as a normal human being. Don't try all this kind of hey, what a wonderful ayah of the Quran. Say subhanallah. Okay, now take your clothes off. I mean, what kind of sick games are you playing? So, and on the same token, these people, they know what's going on as well. The other people, somebody coming to your house, when do your children go to sleep? They go to sleep at this time. Let's do this, let's do that. I never knew what he wanted. He used to just rub oil on my belly, and I used to just think maybe this is the Spirit of God, or this is the Holy Spirit, or come on, snap out of it. You weren't, for God's sake, you know exactly what's going on here. So I think both and all of these people are to blame. So I just came across that, and I saw some comments, people saying, oh my, and people were angry. This was the dumb stuff. It was on Twitter, and people were angry, not so much about him doing this, or let's say her, going along with it and doing this, or him mixing up religion with this. They were angry that he had used magic. They were saying, Astaghfirullah, kill the magician. Kill the magician. I read so many comments saying, kill the magician. It's like, oh my God, the matter's worse than we thought. In kunta la tadri fatilka musiba, wa in kunta tadri fal musibatu a'zam. As the poet says, that this is it, isn't it? That the calamity is even worse. What is it that... لقد أسمعت لو ناديت حيا ولكن لا حياة لمن تنادي. If the person was alive, surely your voice has reached them. But it's a shame that who you speak to, there is no life there. ولكن لا حياة لمن تنادي لو نارا نفخت فيها أضاءت ولكن أنت تنفخ في رمادي. If it was fire, a flame you were blowing into, you would see the fire, but you're just blowing into cold ashes. This is the state of Muslims, unfortunately. So this is why we are a laughing stock, unfortunately. Maheen, you're doing it. Was the lady in question Lauren Booth? Lauren Booth, was it? I don't think so. I think this was just some... I didn't get the lady's name, to be fair. It was just on the post, they just had loads of text messages, and they had some Mufti from somewhere in the Midlands, and I didn't know who he was or anything, but I just saw that and I was like, oh, what's this about? And I read through the messages and it was just this, what I said. And then I read the comments of people saying they were just all angry that it was magic. How dare he kill the magician. And I'm like, I don't know what's worse here. I don't know, him, her, this, what the hell is, the whole thing is such a mess. People, we've gone on for such a while. Right, let's wrap this up. Right, let's wrap this up, inshallah. People, do catch up with MindTrap tomorrow, inshallah. I'm going to try for around midnight. It'll go live. Hopefully, I've got to give Dr. Shabir Ali a call. Hopefully, he's up for it unless something's turned up. If you have any issues, do reach out to me. Do subscribe to my channels. Keep up to date with all the latest stuff I'm putting out there. People, if you do want to reach out to me, message me on Instagram. You can on Facebook Messenger as well. Or on Instagram, send me a message. I do try to catch up with them. Take care of yourselves. Remember me in your kind du'as. Stay blessed, people. Have an awesome week ahead of you, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.